and social impact assessment to be carried out as per the guidelines and provisions of SEBI regulations and the emerging professional opportunities for CMAs in this regard. By way of brief introduction, I am Dr. S.K. Gupta, postgraduate in commerce, cost accountant, company secretary with a PhD in corporate governance. I am currently managing director of ICMAI Registered Valuers Organization, CEO of ICMAI Social Auditors Organization, and Chief Operating Officer of ICMAI International Area Chamber. I've spent over 45 years so far in the corporate sector with both public and private sector organizations in the domain of finance, costing, internal audit, legal, valuations, integrated reporting, and mergers and acquisition. I've published over 375 articles and research papers, which are regularly published in various national and international journals. That's a brief about me. I once again welcome all of you to this webinar being offered by ICMAI Social Auditors Organization. Thank you so much. So we all celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and that takes us to the thought as to what is that we have achieved over the period of last about 79 years of political independence. And it is a matter of pride for all of us that today India is the fourth largest economy of the world. Out of 195 odd countries which are there in the world, we are the fourth largest economy today in terms of GDP numbers. Roughly 4.2 trillion US dollar is our GDP as of today. It's a remarkable achievement because 78, 79 years in the life of a nation is not too long a period. We have made significant progress and development in all areas: infrastructure, science, education, medical, agriculture, all areas we have made remarkable progress. But then there are many experts and economists who say that GDP is not a true measure of the level of economic growth and development of a country. It is an important indicator, but not a true measure. Truly speaking, a country develops, or a country is said to be economically developed when the country is able to have good quality of life for its people. And that's what is measured in terms of Gross National Happiness Index, GNHI, where India is poorly placed around 110 out of 166 countries which are tracked. That means we have made remarkable progress in terms of development over the period of last about 78 years of political independence, but the benefits of development have not been equitably distributed across all segments of population. There are a large number of people who are still below the poverty line. There are a large number of people who are still at the bottom of the pyramid. And therefore, the government is now focusing on an alternate development model which focuses on inclusive and sustainable development. During Amrit Kal, that is the next 25 years, culminating with completion of 100 years of India's political independence by 2047, and we have a vision of building Vikasit Bharat, wherein, yes, the GDP of the country goes up significantly, but at the same time, and more importantly, we are able to offer good quality of life for the people living in this country. And that's the vision that we all have. It's a shared vision that we all have, 140 crore plus population of India, and we all have a role to play in achieving this particular vision of Vikasit Bharat set before us by the government. Now, it is aptly understood now that in the whole context of development, and the real meaning of development, social sector has an incredible role to play. It is socio-economic development that we are looking at, where the society, the environment is duly taken care of along with the economic development of the country happening over a period of time. Social sector is playing a very important role in this whole context of development. Government is doing what it can do for the social upliftment of the people of the country by coming out with various social welfare schemes. But the country that we live in, India, is very big, huge population. Government alone possibly cannot do much about improving the lot of the people or improving the quality of life of the people. And therefore, we had provisions of corporate social responsibility enshrined in the Companies Act of 2013, Section 135, which also brings in the corporate sector to contribute towards social responsibility by mandating a certain percentage of their profit to be spent on CSR activities. And that supplements the efforts of the government towards building in a socially equitable society and for development of the social sector in the country also. But even that possibly may not be enough. Then we come down to the non-profit organizations or the NGOs. India has 4 million NGOs operating in India. This is as per SEBI report. And they are playing a hugely significant role in upliftment of the people who are downtrodden, who are below the poverty line, because these are the NGOs which are working in close connect with the people at the ground level, and they provide the last mile connectivity, and they are working in different areas: education, health, water harvesting, medical, skill development, women empowerment, agriculture, ESG, sustainability. They are playing a hugely important role in building a better quality of life for the country as a whole. Now, the social sector currently faces a lot of problems and challenges in India. I can possibly list out maybe 15, 18, 20 challenges, problems that they face currently in the marketplace. But we keep talking to a lot of NGOs, both in online and physical sessions that we are organizing pan India. I have been able to list out 3 critical challenges or problems that the NGOs currently face in India as well as most parts of the world, including Asia. The first challenge is that of visibility. One NGO based out of whatever state you want to name, say Uttarakhand, may be doing a great job, great work, may be known around 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers periphery, but beyond that, nobody knows about that particular non-governmental organization. They have poor visibility. They are not known pan-India. People don't appreciate the kind of work that they are doing at the ground level because of lack of visibility on their part. Another important challenge that the NGOs face is that of credibility. We all give donations to 2312 organizations every year. But then at the end of the day, there is always some kind of a skepticism in our minds. I don't know where my money is getting spent because I don't get any report. I don't get any feedback. I don't know what impact is the project creating at the ground level, which is funded by contribution for very many different people, including me, but I don't know. So there appears to be some kind of a doubt in the mind of donors with regard to credibility of certain organizations. I don't say every organization falls in this bucket, but many of the non-governmental organizations face and continue to face the credibility issue. And the third key problem faced by the NGOs in the marketplace is that of funding. They have to depend upon funding from the donors, from the people who support their projects from time to time. One NGO may be able to get the funding for 1 year, but next year you're not sure whether the same set of donors will continue to support your project or not. And then you have to again start looking out for fresh donors and fresh people who are going to support your project. And the whole thing becomes so uncertain that the NGOs are not able to plan their projects well in advance. And that's the critical problem that they face. Perennial shortage, perennial lack of resources when it comes to funding. So the three key challenges that the non-profit organizations face in the marketplace are visibility, credibility, and the issue of funding. So, in the budget speech of 2019, our Honorable Finance Minister made a statement that we are going to create a social stock exchange in the country with a view to providing connect between the NGOs operating in India and the capital market. Very important statement. And this is with the overarching macro objective of inclusive growth and building financial inclusion within India. Connecting non-profit organizations with the capital market. How does a company become big? Because they are able to access the capital market. They come out with IPO, they come out with issue of shares, debentures, bonds that provides them access to huge amount of money, and they are able to scale up, they are able to build up their corporate enterprise. Why should this benefit not also be provided to the non-profit organizations who are doing a great job in providing last mile connectivity to the people living at the bottom of the pyramid? So this statement was made from the government side by the Honorable Finance Minister of India in her budget speech of 2019. A great idea, a game changer. But then evolution of social stock exchange in India, it took some time. The statement was made in the parliament in 2019, but then a technical group was established. Then we had a report. A working group was established. They also submitted a report. Public consultation happened across India, including with the NPOs and other people connected with the social sector. It took almost about 3.5 years. Finally, on 25th of July 2022, SEBI made amendments in issue of capital regulations as well as listing obligation and disclosure requirement regulations and paved the way for operationalizing social stock exchange in India. Yes, social stock exchange has since been operating in India from 25th of July 2022. It's been almost more than 3 years and almost 9 months. It's a great step that has been taken by the government of India with a view to leveraging the work being done by 4 million NGOs operating in India with a view to connecting them with the capital market so that they are able to play a significant role in the ultimate vision and objective of building Viksit Bharat by 2047. So it provides for connecting the NPOs with the capital market in two ways, two steps. First step is registration, and the second step is listing. Unlike other corporates, where a corporate can directly list itself, here the requirement is twofold, two-step process. First, an NPO has to register itself on National Stock Exchange or BSE, where the social stock exchange is currently operating, of course, subject to certain eligibility criteria and a particular process to be followed, which I want to share with you in a little while. And after registration, they can go for listing, raising of funds through the platform of social stock exchange operationalized within NSE and BSE both. And the regulations of SEBI also provide for a social impact assessment to be carried out every year for all the projects which are listed so that the donors, the contributors of the funds for a particular project can get a feedback, can get a report as to what is the outcome, what is the impact of a particular project operated by an NGO at the ground level. So the social stock exchange provides solution to the three problems that we talked about. Once an NGO gets itself registered by NSE or BSE or both, its name starts appearing on a website of NSE and BSE. Anyone across India, pan India, can look at, wow, this is a particular NGO which has undergone the whole process of due diligence carried out by NSE and BSE, and it is now registered. And that is set apart from the rest of the NGOs operating in the marketplace. You automatically get visibility. Credibility. The process of registration followed by NSE and BSE is very, very rigorous. They thoroughly check all the documents, all the information provided by the NPO, and thereafter, after getting satisfied, only then they allow a particular NPO to get registered. Once an NGO has crossed that particular hurdle and they get themselves registered, the credibility of that NGO automatically goes up. And then you're going to have a report at the end of the year from all those NGOs which are either registered or listed or both. That means the credibility and visibility of the NPOs automatically goes up. And when the particular NPO goes on to the next stage, after registration, when they approach the stock exchanges for listing, that provides to them an alternate source of fund. They're already getting funds from some of the known donors or people who are supporting their project. They possibly will continue to get those funding. But in addition to that, alternately, they are also now will be able to leverage the platform of social stock exchange for raising of the funds as may be required for their various projects. So the experiment of social stock exchange has been carried out across the world in many countries. But as of now, the social stock exchange is operating in only 4 countries: Singapore, Canada, Jamaica, India. Other places, the experiment was carried out, social stock exchange was established, but it could not sustain and it had to be closed down after some time. Possibly one of the reasons was that these countries decided to set up a separate architecture involving huge investment, and the staff of very, very less. Number of NPOs in that country was very, very less. It did not turn out to be a feasible proposition. I mean, besides many other reasons, possibly this was one of the significant reasons for the failure of social stock exchanges in many of the countries. We have learned a lesson from those case studies. We are late in proposing to set up a social stock exchange in India, but we have decided to not create a separate architecture, not make separate investment in creating an architecture of social stock exchange, but we are using the existing platform of NSE and BSE, created a separate portal within NSE BSE to operationalize and implement the social stock exchange. And because India has large population, 4 million NPOs approximately, I think scale is in our favor. Cost efficiency is what we have taken care of. Hopefully, things will work out better in the Indian context because we have set up social stock exchange after careful understanding and careful analysis of the kind of situation that the country is in. So, as I told you briefly, an NPO can connect with the capital market in two ways or two steps. First step is registration, and the second step is listing. Unlike in the case of other corporates who are allowed to directly go for listing, in the case of social stock exchange, a non-profit organization has to first go for registration, and after registration, they can go for listing. So once an NPO registers itself on the social stock exchange and also goes through the next process of listing, it automatically improves its visibility and credibility. That's because they now become a regulated entity because they have been granted registration after a thorough due diligence process. And if they have also gone in for listing after having passed through again a rigorous process of checking of all information and documents, the particular NPO becomes very, very credible in the eyes of the donor. They have huge visibility. That's because their name appears on a website of NSE and BSE, and they are also able to enjoy better financials, better funding. That's because besides the current existing donors or donor network, they now have opportunity of raising funds from this alternate portal of social stock exchange. This whole philosophy of social stock exchange is also going to convert the philanthropy, which is now going to be based upon performance. If one NPO comes out with listing and you want to come out with a listing once again after 2 years for yet another project, how successful their listing is going to be will depend upon what has been their performance with regard to the previous project for which earlier they had raised the funds. Philanthropy now is going to be based upon performance because we are now going to have a robust architecture and system whereby the outcome, output, and impact of each project for which listing has been done by a particular NPO, the feedback report will be provided to the stakeholders, and therefore they will take a call whether to support that particular NPO time and again in subsequent listings or not. That's going to be based upon the performance of NPO in respect of previous project for which they have got the listing benefit. The cost of registration on social stock exchange is 5,000 rupees plus GST, which is the same for both NSE and BSE as of now. Not a very big amount as compared to the kind of benefits they are going to enjoy once you get yourself registered. It is 5,000 rupees plus GST. And as I mentioned, we don't suggest you break out your relations with your existing donor network. You continue to garner whatever funds you can get from those set of people. But additionally and alternately, social stock exchange will now provide you a funding source or a funding platform in addition to the options which are currently available with a particular NPO. So what is the progress so far over the period of last about 3 years, 9 months for which the social stock exchange has been operating in India? Over 200 NGOs have been registered with social stock exchange. That's put up NSE and BSE put together. Some of the NPOs have also done dual registration. They are registered on both NSE and BSE, permitted. That's not debarred. They are allowed to register on both if they so wish. They have to follow the same registration process all over again. They have to pay the fees to two stock exchanges, but then they are permitted to register on two different social stock exchanges. 14 NGOs have gone in for listing, raising in aggregate an amount of rupees 42 crores so far. And there is a process for becoming a social auditor or a social impact assessor, people who are going to carry out social audit or social impact assessment of the entities and the projects which are listed on social stock exchange. And after passing the exam conducted by SEBI, NISM, they have to get enrolled as a member. So all the three professional institutes have been recognized by SEBI. All the three professional institutes have set up a separate Section 8 companies to deal with this particular market space. The company of ICMAI is ICMAI Social Auditors Organization, which is conducting this webinar today. And I'm currently the CEO of ICMAI Social Auditors Organization. So the important point to note here is that in the whole context of social stock exchange, it is important to understand what is a social enterprise. A social enterprise can be a not-for-profit NPO, or it can possibly also be a for-profit social enterprise. For the non-profit social enterprises, the window for listing is through social stock exchange. And for-profit social enterprises, you have the opportunity of listing on the main board or the SME board, depending upon what is the amount that you want to raise and which category you ultimately fall in. A social enterprise which is not for profit can be either a trust or a cooperative society or a Section 8 company. And then SEBI has kept for itself omnibus power of specifying any other entity as may be specified by the board. Board means SEBI here, which is to be included in the overall definition of social enterprise. But as of now, a trust, a cooperative society, or a Section 8 company only is recognized as a social enterprise for the purposes of social stock exchange. So what are the eligibility criteria for registration? Which NPO can register? Which NPO cannot register? There are some eligibility criteria. First of all, the non-profit organization has to establish what is known as primacy of social intent. You must have some kind of a social objective in your charter, in your trust deed, in your memorandum of association. There must be primacy of social intent. You must have some kind of a social mission. Your objective should not be profit earning. You should be doing something good for the society, for the environment. That's the key and that's the core. What is the ultimate objective, the main object, the vision, mission of the organization? You have to have some kind of a social mission, social objective, or social intent. How do you reflect that social mission and social intent? What kind of activities you carry out? You have to check out whatever activity your NPO is involved in. It has to be one of the activities specified in Schedule 7 to the Companies Act 2013, that is the CSR eligible activities. You'll have to check out that Annex 7. There are various activities which are mentioned there, which are eligible for CSR expenditure under the Companies Act. Same set of activities are also required to be checked up when you want to check out whether your NPO is eligible for registration or not. You have to be engaged in one of the activities which is listed under Schedule 7 of the Companies Act. If whatever you are doing, whatever activity you are pursuing is not within the list of Annex 7 CSR, then you are not eligible to get registered on social stock exchange. Another important criteria is who are your target beneficiaries? Who are the people who are you going to help, support? These people have to be belonging to the category of underserved, less privileged population segments. And in case you are doing something in an area which is comparatively speaking, backward area of the country, in that case also you are eligible to seek registration on either NSE or BSE or both. Niti Aayog has come out with a list of 113 aspirational districts within India. They have identified 113 districts which are comparatively less developed as compared to the rest of the country, and Niti Aayog says the entire focus of the government now, at least for initial few years, is going to be on the development of these particular 113 aspirational districts. Then the non-profit organization must have a valid registration for a period of 12 months of any legal form. A cooperative society, a trust, a Section 8 company, you must have income tax 12A. You should have a valid PAN, which should be minimum 3 years old. Your NPO should be at least 3 years old. And the minimum spending that you have done in the last year should be rupees 50 lakhs. And the receipts of your NPO for the last year should be at least 10 lakhs. So valid registration certificate, valid for the next 12 months, a 12-day registration valid for at least next 12 months. Your PAN IT should be valid, should be minimum 3 years old, and your spending in the last year should be minimum 50 lakhs, and your receipts in the last year should be minimum 10 lakhs. Then I told you that there's going to be a requirement of social audit or a social impact assessment to be carried out of all the projects or all the NPOs which are listed on the social stock exchange. Now, who can be a social auditor? In fact, let me clarify here. SEBI has changed the terminology. Social auditors, they are now called social impact assessors. And social audit is called social impact assessment. That's the terminology being used by SEBI, but I may possibly be using the two words alternately just for clear understanding of all of you. So social auditor, somebody who is eligible to do social impact assessment of all the projects which are listed on the social stock exchange, can be a CMA, a chartered accountant, a company secretary who has passed the exam conducted by NISM, a subsidiary of SEBI. What is the process? What is the fees? I'll deal with that little later. But as of now, somebody who has passed the exam conducted by NISM becomes a social impact assessor. But then you can't take up the assignment in your individual name. There is a further requirement that the assignment can be undertaken only by a social impact assessment firm, not an individual. A social impact assessment firm which must have been in existence and carrying out the work of social impact assessment for the last 3 years. But actually the work will be carried out by someone who has passed the exam conducted by NISM. So the whole architecture is built around a mature system of social impact assessment with assignments not being given to an individual, but assignments given to a social audit impact assessment firm, which has been operating in the market for the last 3 years, but actual assignment being carried out by someone who has passed the exam conducted by NISM SEBI. When an NPO wants to move on to the next stage of listing, where when you list yourself on stock exchange or any capital market platform, there has to be some kind of a security that you talk about. There can be issue of equity shares, issue of preference shares, debentures, bonds. In the context of social stock exchange, SEBI has come out with a different and a new financial instrument, and they call it zero coupon, zero principal. That means somebody who makes an investment in the listing of an IPO on the social stock exchange is not going to be paid any interest, and nor his principal amount is ever going to come back to him. It is simple and plain donation, but because the money is being routed through the platform of social stock exchange as regulated by SEBI, operationalized by NSE and BSE, they call this particular instrument zero coupon, zero principal. And going forward, social impact bonds will also be eligible, and certain mutual funds will also be eligible to fund the projects which are listed on social stock exchange. The other conditions for listing are just as in the case of any other corporate, when they come out with an IPO, they come out with a very, very comprehensive, detailed prospectus. Similarly, here, NPO looking for listing on social stock exchange has to come out with a draft fundraising document, DFRD, where you have to give complete details of your organization, its structure, the kind of projects that you would have done in the past, the compliances that you comply with, the staff that you have, the infrastructure that you have, and also provide full details about the project for which you are now seeking funding from the platform of social stock exchange. You have to provide detailed description of the particular project. What are the inputs required? What are the activities required to be carried out for implementation of that project? And finally, what do you think is going to be output, outcome, and impact of that project? And who knows, and possibly yes, there may be certain challenges that you will face midway. When the project is getting implemented, there may be certain types of risks that you will encounter. How do you propose to deal with those kind of risks? That risk mitigation strategy, risk management strategy also has to be part of the draft fundraising document that the NPO has to prepare. Just to give you an idea, this document generally runs into something like 125 plus to 200 to 225 to 250 pages. Very, very comprehensive document. All the NPOs which have so far listed, 14 of them, they have already submitted the fundraising document to NSE and BSE, and these are available on the website of NSE and BSE for reference purposes. Those of you who may be interested can check out on the website of NSE and BSE, have a look at what is the kind of information which is normally required to be provided in the fundraising document prepared by NPOs for the purpose of listing on social stock exchange. Once the DFRD or the draft fundraising document is submitted to NSE and BSE, they do a very, very thorough check. They also check out the kind of details that you have provided, whether they are in sync and in line with the theory of change and the log frame model. I mean, possibly we can have a separate session some other time to explain these two important models in the social sector for implementation of the project. Theory of change. What change do you think this project is going to bring about? And what kind of inputs are required and how they are connected with various activities, the output, outcome, and impact. There are two important models that we use here, the theory of change and log frame model or the log model. NSE and BSE will do a very, very thorough check to check out whether the draft fundraising document has provided information as required for various purposes or not. And once they find that something is amiss as of now, something is missing, they may call for further information, they may raise certain queries, but once they are satisfied, they will approve the draft fundraising document, and then you have to submit to NSE and BSE the final fundraising document. And that is, in a way, in principle, approval of NSE and BSE to the NPO to go for listing on social stock exchange. Once your fundraising document is cleared and in principle approval is given by NSE or BSE for listing, you have to come out with IPO. You have to come out with issue within a period of 6 months from the date of that approval. If somehow you miss that deadline, you're not able to do listing within 6 months from the date of in principle approval of NSE or BSE, the whole process of listing will have to be gone through all over again. I mean, there's no way out. The minimum issue size prescribed for social stock exchange as of now is 50 lakhs. In fact, this amount has been diluted a few times since the original regulations were issued by SEBI. Earlier, the limit used to be 2 crores, then it was dropped down to 1 crore. Currently, it is at a level of 50 lakhs. The project has to be minimum, requiring investment of 50 lakhs, then only an NPO can approach social stock exchange and go for listing. For projects less than rupees 50 lakhs, stock exchange, social stock exchange route is not available. From the donor's perspective, how much amount can you contribute minimum? In the case of listing by your NPO, right, you can contribute as small as just 1,000 rupees. You can contribute just about 1,000 rupees to be able to contribute and be an active partner or an active player in the listing of an NGO or NPO on the social stock exchange. There is a clause of minimum subscription that we normally have in the case of IPO, which for the normal corporates is 90% of the issue size. Here in this case, it is 50%. This had been brought down to 50% within last 15-20 days by amendment carried out by SEBI. Earlier, minimum subscription in the case of social stock exchange used to be 75%. Recently brought down by way of an amendment by SEBI, now it is 50%. The issue, the ZC-ZP issue remains open for a period of 10 days. If you're not able to collect the amount even equivalent to minimum subscription within 10 days, the issue fails. You will have to refund the money to all the people who had donated, contributed, invested money in your IPO. If you're not able to garner even 50% of the issue amount, then the entire money which is required to be kept in escrow account will have to be refunded back. Of course, the whole process of normal IPO regarding appointment of a banker, opening a demat account from the donors, getting into a tripartite agreement with CDSL, NSDL, all these aspects have to be duly taken care of in the whole process of listing on social stock exchange. Of course, the donors get the benefit of ATG if they make investment or if they contribute funds in the listing of social stock exchange NPO. So far, CSR funds are not allowed to be routed through social stock exchange. We have taken it up aggressively with SEBI. SEBI has taken it up with the government. We believe that government has agreed in principle to allow a certain percentage of CSR funds to be routed through social stock exchange, but final notification is yet awaited. We are hopeful that something will come out very soon from the government side where they will allow a certain portion, certain percentage of CSR funds to be routed through the platform of social stock exchange. I think once that happens, social stock exchange will get a very, very big boost and a fillip. Because in India, 35,000 crore rupees is on an average spent on CSR activities by the corporates pursuant to the provisions of Section 135 of the Companies Act 2013. So whatever percentage of 35,000 crores is going to be routed, allowed to be routed through social stock exchange, that's going to give a big boost to the whole concept of social stock exchange within India. So huge benefits for the NPOs who connect with the social stock exchange, first through the registration process and subsequently by way of the listing process. At the same time, they are now going to be regulated by certain regulations of SEBI. And these regulations will require certain compliances, certain disclosures on their part. To understand very, very clearly, for the NPOs which are only registered and yet to list, the requirement is that if an annual disclosure within 60 days from the end of the financial year, but this is kind of a self-disclosure, not required to be audited, not required to be checked by anyone. The forms for annual disclosure have been standardized, formalized by SEBI, available on the website of NSE and BSE both. You just have to download that form, fill it up yourself, because as of now, your NPO is only registered and hasn't gone for the next stage of listing. In this self-declaration annual disclosure, you will have to provide information in general about your organization, about the governance structure of your company, about the financial statements of your company, and this has to be submitted to NSE or BSE, wherever you may be registered within 60 days from the end of the financial year. So, to make it clear, once again, I repeat, for NPOs which are only registered, not yet listed, there is no requirement of social audit or social impact assessment by a third party. You have to submit an annual disclosure by yourself, self-certified, self-declaration, self-filled up in a prescribed form as specified by SEBI, which is available on the website of both NSE and BSE. For the projects which are listed on the social stock exchange, there is a mandatory requirement of getting a social audit done every year. Social impact assessment to be done every year by a social impact assessor or a social auditor. And the report has to be submitted within 90 days from the end of the financial year. One important difference between normal IPO and IPO listing on social stock exchanges, in the case of normal IPO, a company lists itself on stock exchange. But in the case of social stock exchange, it is not the NPO which is listed. It is a particular project which is listed. And therefore, when I say a social audit is required to be done when the project is listed on social stock exchange, that means NPO will have to get a social audit done of the particular project, not the entire organization, but the particular project which was listed on the social stock exchange for which the funds were generated through the portal of social stock exchange. Then, of course, there is a requirement of periodic utilization of fund statement, which has to be submitted to stock exchanges within 45 days from the end of each quarter till the time the funds raised are fully utilized. So it's a perpetual requirement. Every quarter, within 45 days from the end of the quarter, you have to submit that statement to NSE, BSE, or both. And in case of some emergency happening, some kind of material event impacting the functioning of NPOs, just as in LODR also you have that kind of a requirement. Every NPO, in case of some material event impacting the operations of the NPO, has to make information available to NSE or BSE within 7 days from the occurrence of that event. So an NPO gets lots of benefits through the platform of social stock exchange registration and listing. And of course, there are going to be some obligations on their part in terms of compliances, self-disclosure, social impact assessment to be obtained from a third party, utilization of fund statement, and informing stock exchanges as and when some material event happens in an organization. So what are the opportunities for the CMAs in this new emerging professional domain? Well, all of us can help the NPOs in the process of registration on NSE or BSE. There is a prescribed form which I'm going to share with you as part of this presentation. You can download that from NSC, BSc website. Very simple form, but the NPO may not be able to fill that form all by themselves. They may not be able to understand some of the information that's being asked for in the particular form. And that's where we CMAs can support NPOs in the whole process of registration on NSC or BSc. We can also help the NPOs in the whole process of listing, especially in the crafting of the DFRD, draft fundraising document. That also has to be, possibly can be done by CMAs. In general, we can support the NPO sector by way of helping them in budgeting of projects, planning of projects, monitoring of projects, evaluation of projects, and of course, how to effectively manage the costs. Cost management is very, very critical for every sector, including the social sector and the social project, where we all have a huge role to play. And then, of course, in case one NPO which is listed wants to get one of its projects for which funds had been raised to get social impact assessment done, you can also do social impact assessment, provided that as only CMA you can't do that, provided that you qualify as a social impact assessor, and then you can provide the services of carrying out social impact assessment to the NPO sector also. So how do you become a social impact assessor? For cost accountants, chartered accountants, company secretaries, no experience prescribed. Even if you got your membership number yesterday, you are eligible to become a social auditor or a social impact assessor. For a postgraduate who may not be a CA, CS, CMA, then you must have minimum 3 years experience in the development sector or NGOs. A graduate with 6 years experience with NGOs also eligible to become a social auditor or a social impact assessor. You go to NISM website, check out the tab Social Auditor Certification Examination, which is series number 23, Roman 23 on the NISM platform. The fees is 1,500 rupees plus GST. You set your own schedule. When do you want to appear for the exam? You check out and fix your own center. Whichever city you are located, there must be some or the other center where you can go and take the exam. So time, your choice, slot, your choice, center, your choice. You pay 1,500 rupees plus GST the fees. Immediately after registration, you will get an e-study material booklet of 224 pages, which provides you broad idea as to what is the broad syllabus for this particular exam. And once you go through that booklet, it provides you general idea as to what this exam is going to be all about. Of course, only reading this particular study material may not be enough. You will have to study some more material. But this gives you a broad idea as to what this exam is going to be. The exam is objective, multiple choice questions, 100 questions in all, to be answered in 2 hours. Minimum pass marks are 60, but there is a negative marking of 0.25%. For every 4 wrong answers, 1 mark will be deducted. 85 questions for 1 mark each are going to be direct, and 15 questions are going to be based upon case studies. 3 case studies, each one of the case study will have 5 questions. So 5 into 3, 15 questions will be case study based, 85 questions will be direct questions. And the pass marks are 60. Very, very simple, not very difficult at this point of time. And possibly you can look at this professional opportunity seriously and may decide to appear for this exam for the purpose of expanding your professional network and widening the sphere of your professional domain going forward. As I mentioned, Institute has opened a Section 8 company, incorporated a Section 8 company as a subsidiary company of the Institute, ICMEI Social Auditors Organization, which is also recognized by SEBI in the context of social stock exchange. There is a Social Stock Exchange Advisory Committee of SEBI. We are member of that committee. We regularly participate in those meetings of Social Stock Exchange Advisory Committee. So far, our company has registered 182 members, CAs, CMAs, CS, other people, postgraduates, non-postgraduates, only graduates who have passed the NASM exam. We have enrolled them, and the number of enrolled members as of today with us is 182. There are some applications which are in the pipeline, but 182 members are already registered with us. We have registered 8 firms, social impact assessment firms with us. We also help you in preparing for the social auditors examination. We conduct preparatory course, Saturday and Sunday, 7 hours Saturday, 7 hours Sunday. Fees is 1,200 rupees. We help you prepare for the social auditors examination. We also have a mock test facility on our website. You can check out your readiness, preparedness for the exam by testing out and going through the mock tests which are available on our website. We have organized over 65 social stock exchange awareness programs, both online and offline, pan-India, trying to create awareness amongst the professionals, amongst the NPOs with regard to this whole new concept of social stock exchange. We are regularly organizing interactive sessions and guest lectures from the officials of SEBI, NSE, BSE. We have developed an e-library. You can check out our website where you find over 400 documents regarding social sector, social audit, social impact assessment, which are very useful for someone trying to build his knowledge in this particular domain. We are also releasing a monthly journal, the Social Impact Assessor, every month, which carries articles, important information, SEBI notifications, which are useful for everyone connected with this sector. We have associated with Association of NGOs, One India, Catalyst Now, SR Asia, Mahavan, Mountain Forum Himalayas. We have entered into MOUs with all of them with a view to providing our members connect with the NPOs. How do you connect with the NPOs? So we provide you, we facilitate your connect because we have entered into MOU with various association of NGOs. And we also handhold and guide NGOs for the purpose of registration and listing on social stock exchange. I'm also sharing with you frequently asked questions on social stock exchange, SSC, social stock exchange checklist, and the form for registration on the social stock exchange. You can download, go through that, understand what is the requirement so far as FAQs are concerned, checklists are concerned, and the particular form for registration is concerned. That's my contact number. Any one of you wanting any further detail, you can connect with me either on the email or by way of my direct phone number, which I'm mentioning here, out here. But I would request all of you to kindly look at this opportunity, a new emerging opportunity in the marketplace for all the CMAs carefully and possibly decide to go through this exam of SEBI. We are going to help you. You can take our preparatory exam, not necessary, but you can take our preparatory course, which is definitely going to help you prepare with confidence for this exam. And once you clear this exam, then definitely you can become a social impact assessor and start operating in the marketplace for the purpose of expanding your professional domain. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar today. I'm really thankful for all of you for sparing your time and join this webinar being organized by ICMAI Social Auditors Organization. Any questions? If there are any, I'll be pleased to answer for a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Well, you are sharing the file in the chat box, or where do I get it? The
Sir,
files.
we'll send the presentation by way of email. You have all registered for this session. We have your emails with us. The coordinator of this program will share the presentation with you all through the mail, sir.
Along with the FAQs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the question and the
Yes.
MCQs.
Everything will be part of that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Gupta, thank you for another wonderful and very informative
Thank you,
session.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your guidance.
Thank you.
Dr. Gupta, this is CMA Pradeep Mishra.
Yes, sir.
My query is, that this NPO has to do its marketing when it is trying to get it listed, its project, its
Sir,
own marketing,
essentially
or
and initially, yes, but then the stock exchanges also help you, and they have also NSE has tied up with Zerodha. I mean, Zerodha has a large database of various investors, of course, who invest in the corporates and the normal IPO and the bond issue. But that definitely helps the NPOs also to be able to get funding support when they come out with listing or IPO side. Yeah.
thank you so
So,
much,
but
sir.
primarily NPOs have to ensure and at least get some kind of a commitment from their existing donors for the minimum subscription. Otherwise, the whole effort is going to be a waste. So they obviously have to take care of that part. But subsequently, they get support from the stock exchanges and other agencies, including ICMAI SEO.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
So good evening, sir. I'm Aarti Nigam. Sir, I have got a query that we are practicing professionals,
Yes.
and if we are into social impact assessment for doing